Hey everyone, this is Mike. Today we're talking a little bit about Final Fantasy XIV and how it's been able to keep my attention for the last 3.5 years that I've been playing the game now, because I'm somebody that likes to jump in between games quite a bit. If you've been following my channel for the last few weeks, you'll see that I post content about a lot of different games because I'm somebody that likes to enjoy a little bit of everything. But Final Fantasy has been that one game that I always keep coming back to and that also keeps me interested. So in this video I wanted to talk about some of the things that make it so why I keep interested in the game or why I stay interested. And then of course I'm also wanted to talk a little bit about the patch schedule and how that actually affects my love for the game quite a bit, because it is actually a really good thing, but I'll talk about that in just a second. Now, Final Fantasy is that one game where I have put in a significant amount of hours more than I have on some of the other games that I've played over the course of the years. Now, I've been playing games for about 10 years, I guess you could say at this point. Started with like Modern Warfare 2 or something on the Xbox 360, which I actually don't know, maybe it's even more than 10 years at this point, probably like 12 years. But even though I've been playing games for those 12 years, there hasn't been a single game that I've been able to stick to as much as Final Fantasy XIV, because I'll put it on screen real quick. As you can see, Final Fantasy is my most played game by a very large margin, even though those other games like Dota 2 I have been playing since 10 years ago, but they've never been able to keep me hooked so much that I want to just play it every single week or every single day as much as Final Fantasy did. Now, one of the reasons for that is the ease of access to flexibility in the game. Final Fantasy is a game that might not bring out the most amount of content. For example, if we look at Shadowbringers, the expansion is about 6 months old at this point, a little bit less I think, but about 6 months. And what we currently have at endgame is not a crazy amount. When we look at like the real endgame content, we have 4 dungeons, which is not that much. We have 4 savage raids, we have 1 ultimate raid, and we have 3 extreme primals. And that is it. It's not a crazy amount of content, but it is an okay amount, I guess you could say. Now, the reason why this content stays interesting for me to do is because the ease of access to playing other jobs in the game. I'm somebody that primarily enjoys to play tank, but I also enjoy playing some of the other roles quite often as well. And if you look back at my raiding career, I guess you could say, I've been swapping in between all of these different jobs for quite some time. I started out as ninja and machinist back in Heavensward, then I played caster, then I played tank, played ranged again, then I played tank again for Eden's Gate, and then for Eden's Verse, the next raid here, I'm going to be playing caster again. So I end up switching in between these jobs quite a bit in between the different raid tiers, and even in the same raid tier, I also like to switch in between them quite a bit. For example, when it comes to playing tank, I've been playing in Party Finder quite a bit this tier, because I've been without a static for quite a while. I have one now, of course, but during the tier itself, when it was still like content that you wanted to farm, I've been without a static for most of that. And thus I end up playing Party Finder a lot. And then because you're playing Party Finder, you adjust to a little bit what is in that party already. So sometimes I'd end up playing Gunbreaker, sometimes I play Dark Knight, sometimes Warrior. Paladin, not really a thing that I like that much, I didn't really play that much, but in between that role, you can just flex as much as you want because you share gear, and then when it comes to your other jobs, it is easy to gear them up as well, because once you are done gearing up your main job or your main role, you can still get all of these loot drops on your character, and then you can spend them on different jobs that you would want to play, like for example in my case ninja or machinist. So it makes it very easy to swap in between these different jobs, still have gear for them, so that you're not gimping your like group that you're going into Party Finder with. And it keeps stuff fresh, because every time that you do the same fight, even if it's on a different job in the same role, or even if it is in a different role, it is going to be a new experience, or at least a different experience, because you're going to be handling different mechanics, or you're going to be handling the same mechanics in a different way. And that is something that is what makes this game always fresh for me. For example, in Ultimate, it's a fight that I've done literally over 1,000 times at this point, or well, at least we've done over 1,000 pulls on at this point. So you would say like that's going to be pretty boring for me, but on the other hand, it is still pretty fun to me, because right now I am learning how to play Black Mage in there. So I've gone from playing that tank to now playing Black Mage, so I need to handle a bunch of different mechanics, both in the first phase and the second phase. Third and fourth phase not as much, but in the first and the second phase the amount of mechanics that I have to do differently are quite a bit of them, so it's what keeps it a lot of fun for me. Now, The patch cycle is also something that helps with this quite a bit. So if you don't know how the patch cycle works for Final Fantasy XIV, basically every 3 months there is going to be a big patch. Every 6 months there is going to be a new big Savage raid release. So the even numbers patches, 0.0, 0.2, 0.4 is when we can expect Savage raids, 0.1, 0.3, 0.5 is where we have those off patches, as we like to call them as well, where we get ultimate releases and then also usually some other piece of content as well. Of course, they did say that they're going to change the patch schedule a little bit. Not necessarily the schedule, but what is in the patches themselves, because as they mentioned in the live letter before, is that they're going to be dropping the second dungeon from the even numbers patches to introduce new content as well. So I guess even numbered patches are going to be looking a little bit more like the odd numbered patches as well when it comes to introducing new content. So we'll have to wait and see how exactly that ends up going. But in general, every 3 months you can expect new content, whether it be Savage, Ultimate, something like Eureka, or maybe something else that they come out with as well, to just keep you interested in the game. Now, 3 months might be a long time for some people, but I think it is actually a really good thing, because usually it takes about 2 months to be done with content. What I mean by that, for example, let's take Savage. Say you go into Savage, you clear it the second week, third week, something like that. Then you still have, let's say, 5-6 weeks for you to farm that Savage tier, get your gear, and then once you're done with your gear, you can stop playing the game, because it takes another month for Ultimate to come out. And then you go into Ultimate, that takes 6, 7, 8 weeks to clear, and then you still have another month that you don't have to do anything. And then during this month of a content low, you can go play something else. For example, I've been playing a bunch of Monster Hunter World Iceborne, Temtem also just released, and then Legends of Runeterra is now in open beta as well, so there's currently a lot of games that I would rather play than Final Fantasy XIV, which is why there's also not a crazy amount of Final Fantasy content on the channel at the moment, because I'm just not playing the game all that much. I just log in for my daily expert, and that's pretty much it. Last night I helped out a friend for 2 hours in Savage with his raid, which was pretty fun, was pretty refreshing, got to play Machinist again, which is something that I barely played this tier, so it was pretty exciting for me to play that again, and it just was still fun to play for me, because it's something that I hadn't done in quite a while. But it also makes it so that when you take these breaks from the game, when you come back, you're going to be just that much more excited to play it. For example, with Destiny 2 as well, which is a game that I played a fair bit throughout its first and second year, but then when it came to year 3, I think it is now, when Shadowkeep came out, I went ham on that game in the first few weeks, because it was just so exciting for me to play. And that is because I hadn't played it for a little while, because I was very casual in year 2 of Destiny. So when it comes to Final Fantasy, I go ham when the new patch goes out, I play for like 2 weeks straight, and then in the following weeks I just die down the amount of time I put in the game quite a bit, and then I almost stop playing towards the end of the patch, only logging in maybe a few times a week here or there to send out my retainers or to maybe get my tomestones. But outside of that, I don't really do much in the game at the moment other than just get my weekly ultimate clears done, because I don't really do Savage anymore, because new gear is gonna come out soon anyways, so there's no real point. But then it allows me to take that break from the game and then play some other stuff that I've wanted to put my time into, like Monster Hunter, like Temtem. But then once the new patch comes out, I'm going to be very excited for it again, so that I can enjoy it to the fullest and not feel like I'm still playing the same game that I've just been playing for like all these years, that I'm getting bored of, for example, because this way it keeps me very excited about the game. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, kind of how I keep excited for the game, or how the game keeps me interested into playing it, and then also talk a little bit about the patch schedule and why I think it is a very good thing that there are these content lows here and there, so that you can enjoy other games, to then come back to the game with full energy to enjoy the newest addition to the game as well. So that's gonna be it for me, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.